Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, launching Dragon to the International Space Station.
There was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast.
You're a neuroscience company, and you're working to build basically an interface to the brain.
Yeah. Electrode to neuron interface at a micro level. It's obvious. Micro level.
Okay, what is it? Like a plug in the head that's going to fit into a hard drive? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires. Micro level. Yeah.
This would be implanted surgically.
It's obvious. Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
And it would do what? Could you input? Could you download Jim?
Yeah. It's obvious. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Okay, so
This is very esoteric.
Yeah, when will I be able to get the interface implant?
Micro level.
When will I be able to get
the interface
implant?
Children in a playground.
A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Basically, an effort for man to merge with machine in a healthy way.
Yes. It's obvious.
And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast.
haven't said it. So I'm sitting here in the pilot seat. And pull that down. So we've aimed for something with the Dragon version 2 for the interfaces and for the overall aesthetic of something that's very clean, very simple, so as the pilot, you were able to interact with the screens overhead, control the spacecraft, and then we've got all of the critical functions that are needed in an emergency situation as manual buttons. So that's what you see in this area here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. All right, that's all a lot easier in zero-G, by the way. So there you have it, Dragon version 2, capable of carrying up to 7 astronauts, propulsively landing almost anywhere in the world, and something that's designed, as I said, to be fully reusable. So you can fly this multiple times, allowing for potential dramatic reduction in the cost of access to space. Thank you.
And then SpaceX is about helping make life multiplanetary and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo.
It's something that we have in us. We go out at night and we look up into the sky. We see things. We don't know what they are about. We are curious. We want to see infinity, perhaps almost to visit infinity. To me, it's an intangible, but it's a part of being a human being, is this feeling of it's part of, it's there to see, to go, to see, to touch, to smell, to understand.
Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. For he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he will show you things to come. He shall glorify me, for he shall receive of mine, and shall show it unto you. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth.
And in December, I signed a historic directive that will return Americans to the moon for the first time since 1972. If you can believe that. You can believe that. Believe. You can believe that. Believe that. You can believe that. You can believe that.
Will you call? 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 Will you call?
And it came to pass after this, that I saw another host of chariots with men riding on them, and they came upon the wind from the east and from the west to the south. And the sound of the noise of their chariots was heard. And when this occurred, the holy ones observed it from heaven, and the pillars of the earth were shaken from their foundations, and the sound was heard from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven throughout the day. And they came upon the wind from the east and from the west. And I saw the storehouses of all the winds, and I saw how with them he has adorned all creation, and I saw the foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth, and I saw the four winds which support the earth and the sky. And I saw how the winds stretched out the height of heaven, and how they positioned themselves between heaven and earth. They are the pillars of heaven. And I saw the winds which turned the sky and caused the disk of the sun and all the stars to set. And I saw the winds on the earth which support the clouds, and I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of heaven above.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. Even him, whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power. And his seat and great authority, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Boosters. They're heading towards Earth. They're about to begin their landing burns. We'll hopefully be able to bring you nice footage of that.
Both side boosters transonic.
And watch for the landing lights deploy at the tail end of that landing burn.
Started.
Both boosters looking to be on track towards their respective landing zones.
Landing burns have started. Side boosters landing legs are deployed.
And deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it, and there was no water upon it, and no birds. But it was a waste and horrible place. I saw there 7 stars, like great burning mountains. And to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them, and bound them till the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years. And Uriel said to me, Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of. I saw there 7 stars, like great burning mountains.
Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords, and King of kings, and they that are with him are called, and chosen, and faithful.
And he saith unto me,
The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, ye shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
This is not a theory. This is not a guess. This is scripture. Enoch was shown the heavens, and he was shown the prison where there was 7 stars of heaven bound together in the heavens because they didn't come out at their appointed times. Then John went there, and he saw the same 7 mountains, and when he went, it was at the end. And at the end, there was an 8th wandering star. Today in 2019, we have an 8th wandering star. It's on a schedule, and you can go outside and look at it on that schedule, because it will fly over your house. So that beast is what the world wonders at when they behold it. Revelation 17 verse 8 talks about that. Don't believe in an orbiting space station when God created a flat earth with heaven above, in which God sits on his throne.
Raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame, wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly. And these are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever.
And in those days the angels shall return, and hurl themselves to the east upon the Parthians and Medes. They shall stir up the kings, so that a spirit of unrest shall come upon them, and they shall rouse them from their thrones, that they may break forth as lions from their lairs, and as hungry wolves among their flocks. And they shall go up and tread under foot the land of his elect ones. And it came to pass after this, that I saw another host of wagons, and men riding thereon, and coming on the winds from the east, and from the west to the south. And the noise of their wagons was heard. And when this turmoil took place, the holy ones from heaven remarked it, and the pillars of the earth were moved from their place, and the sound thereof was heard from one end of heaven to the other in one day. And they shall all fall down and worship the Lord of spirits. And this is the end of the second parable. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he doeth great wonders, and maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. These great beasts, which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
personnel. This is the NTD conducting the launch status check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC.
OTC is go.
TBC.
Tank and booster go.
PTC.
PTC is go.
LPS.
LPS is go.
MILA.
Mile is go.
STM. STM is go. Safety console.
Safety console is go.
SPE.
SP is go.
LRD. LRD is go. SRO.
SRO is go. You have a range clear to launch.
And CDR.
CDR is go.
And Launch Director NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed.
I copy that. I'll do my poll at this time. KC Chief Processing Engineer, verify no constraints to launch.
No constraints.
Thank you, Steve. KC Safety and Mission Assurance.
Safety and Mission Assurance is go, Mike.
Thank you, Terry. Payload Launch Manager.
Hey, Mike, on behalf of the ISS ground processing team, I want to say thanks to you and the shuttle team. It's been a great partnership, and we are go.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Range weather.
Launch weather has no constraints for launch.
Thank you, Kathy. Atlantis Flow Director.
On behalf of the Atlantis and KSC Civil Processing Team, we are go.
Thank you, Angie. Atlantis Launch Director, Air to Ground 1.
Atlantis, go.
Okay, Fergie, we're starting to feel pretty good down here on the ground about this one today. So on behalf of the greatest team in the world, good luck to you and your crew on the final flight of this true American icon. And so for the final time, Fergie, Doug, Sandy, and Rex, good luck, Godspeed, and have a little fun up there.
Hey, thanks to you and your team, Mike. Until the very end, you all made it look easy. The shuttle's always going to be a reflection of what a great nation can do when it dares to be bold and commits to follow through. We're not ending the journey today, Mike. We're completing a chapter of a journey that will never end. You and the thousands of men and women who gave their hearts, souls, and their lives for the cause of exploration have rewritten history. Let's light this fire one more time, Mike, and witness this great nation at its best. The crew of Atlantis is ready for launch.
0 and liftoff, the final liftoff of Atlantis. On the shoulders of the space shuttle, America will continue the dream.
Roger, roll, Atlantis. Houston now controlling the flight of Atlantis. The space shuttle spreads its wings one final time for the start of a sentimental journey into history. 24 seconds into the flight.
Right. Is that correct? Do you have a similar starting point from him and your thinking process?
I think there's certainly some similarities of opinion. I think both Jeff and I believe that it's important for the future to be a spacefaring civilization and out there, ultimately be out there among the stars. And I think.
Why do you seem so scared? I know things no one knows. We're going to die.
I think that's the that's the exciting, inspiring future that I think certainly people in this room want. I mean, I think when I say, you know, multi-planet species, like that's really what we want to be. It's not like, you know, still being a single planet species but moving planets. It's really being a multi-planet species and having civilization and life as we know it extend beyond Earth to the rest of the solar system and ultimately to other star systems. I think that's the thing. That's the future that's exciting and inspiring, and I think that's what, you know. I think, you know, you need things like that to be glad to wake up in the morning. You know, like life can't be just about solving problems. Like there have to be things that are inspiring and exciting that make you glad to be alive.
So what, in the immediate time frame, what is your goal for SpaceX now that you've done this, which is a huge accomplishment? What is the plan for you in the immediate time and then the longer range?
Sure. So so we plan to refly one of the landed rocket boosters, hopefully in about 2 or 3 months, something like that, and then so that'll be an important milestone. So far, the stages are looking like quite good, even though they come through quite. It's a really difficult re-entry situation, but they're looking like they're in good shape. And we now have 4 of them, so we want to start reflying them, you know, towards the end of summer, and then hopefully. By the end of this year, we'll be launching Falcon Heavy, which will be the most powerful rocket in the world by more than a factor of 2. So Falcon Heavy will be on the order of 5 million pounds of thrust on liftoff, which is about 2/3 the size of a Saturn V.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's the rocket that took the astronauts to the moon.
Right. Exactly.
So,
in fact, we're launching from the same pad, from the Apollo 11 pad.
Wow.
The launches will take place, you know, every 2 to 4 weeks. There's quite a high launch cadence.
That's a much faster cadence than NASA had, right?
Yeah, it'll be more launches than anything else in the world. So more than Russia, more than Europe, more than China by next year, certainly.
And largely to deliver customers' satellites.
Yeah, there's a lot of broadcast and communication satellites that are going to geosynchronous orbit, and then we'll also be launching the new Iridium constellation. So the Iridium's got a next generation constellation of satellites. I think 60 or 70 satellites, quite decent sized satellites. That'll be, I think, many orders of magnitude improvement over the current Iridium system. So we'll be able to have global broadband. So that'll be a whole bunch of launches, and yeah, and then next year we'll be flying Dragon version 2, which is the one that's capable of taking up to 7 astronauts to the space station. In fact, Dragon 2 really it's a propulsive lander as well, and it'll be it's intended to carry astronauts to the space station, but it's also capable of being a general science delivery platform to anywhere in the solar system. So
where are you going with it?
Well, we're going to send one to Mars in 2018.
Now, let's talk about
Wait. 2018, that's for sure.
Yeah, a couple years.
A couple of years. Now, will you be on that flight?
No.
You have talked about this. You said you don't want to, you want to die on Mars, just not on landing, right? Is that correct?
Well, I mean, I think if you're going to choose a place to die, then Mars is probably, not a bad choice.
All right.
But you're not ready.
It's not some sort of Martian death wish or something. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to be born on Earth, die on Mars.
So sending this up to Mars 2018, right? Sending this up to Mars 2018, when will someone like you get there from your plans?
Sure, so the 2018 mission would be our Dragon version 2.
Right.
And I think if things go according to plan, we should be able to launch people probably in 2024 with arrival in 2025.
In the 50th year, in the 7th month, on the 14th day of the month of the life of Enoch, in that parable, I saw how the heaven of heavens was shaken violently, and the host of the Most High and the angels, 1,000 thousands and 10,000 times 10,000, were extremely disturbed. And then I saw the head of days sitting on the throne of his glory, and the angels and righteous were sitting around him. And a great trembling seized me, and fear took hold of me, and my loins collapsed and gave way, and my whole being melted, and I fell upon my face. And the holy Michael sent another holy angel, one of the holy angels, and he raised me. And when he raised me, my spirit returned, for I had been unable to endure the sight of that host, and the disturbance, and the shaking of heaven. And the holy Michael said to me, "What sight has disturbed you like this? Until today has the day of his mercy lasted, and he has been merciful and long-suffering towards those who dwell upon the dry ground." And in those days the angels will gather together, and will throw themselves towards the east. Upon the Parthians and Medes they will stir up the kings, so that a disturbing spirit will come upon them, and they will drive them from their thrones, and they will come out like lions from their lairs, and like hungry wolves in the middle of their flocks. And they will go up and trample on the land of my chosen ones. And they will go up and trample on the land of my chosen ones. And they will go up and trample on the land of my chosen ones. And the land of my chosen ones will become before them a tramping ground and a beaten track, tramping ground and a beaten track. But the city of my righteous ones will be a hindrance to their horses, and they will stir up slaughter amongst themselves, and their own right hand will be strong against them. And a man will not admit to knowing his neighbor, or his brother, nor a son his father, or his mother, until, through their death, there are corpses enough, and their punishment it will not be in vain. And in those days Sheol will open its mouth, and they will sink into it, and their destruction. Sheol will swallow up the sinners in front of the faces of the chosen. And it came to pass after this, that I saw another host of chariots with men riding on them, and they came upon the wind from the east and from the west to the south. And the sound of the noise of their chariots was heard. And when this occurred, the holy ones observed it from heaven, and the pillars of the earth were shaken from their foundations, and the sound was heard from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven throughout the day. And all will fall down and worship the Lord of spirits. And this is the end of the second parable.
During the space age, we have increased the knowledge of our universe 1,000-fold.
But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
And for people all over the world, I am sure that they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is.
Apollyon.
Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world.
Apollyon.
And as you talk to us from the sea of tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to earth.
For when they shall say peace and safety, Then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one.
Apollyon.
One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to earth.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. 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 Apollyon.
I look back on those days now of landing on the moon, and I try and put myself in the position of the historians, maybe even off into the future, that look back and see that it was an international challenge and response that prompted the president to chart a course for this nation to go there. And but getting to some specifics, I'm aghast that just almost exactly 6 years to the day after we left the Earth to go to the moon and land, we launched a mission that, in essence, gave the Soviets the ability to say that they're equal to us technically, and then we proceeded in the next 6 years not to even fly one human in space. And I think it's going to be inconceivable when future historians look back and see that what a tremendous capability was put together by one nation, and then it was sort of set aside and laid to rest.
And reminding us once again of the power and consequence of celestial extracurricular activities.
Apollyon.
Many Americans were part of Apollo.
Apollyon.
About 1 or 2 in each 1,000 citizens, all across the country. They were asked by their country to do the impossible, to envisage, to design, and to build a method of breaking the bonds of Earth's gravity.
Apollyon.
And then sally forth and visit another heavenly body.
Apollyon.
The principal elements, leaving Earth, navigating in space, and descending to a planet unencumbered with runways and traffic controls, would include the major requirements necessary for a spacefaring people.
Apollyon.
Today, a space shuttle flies overhead with an international crew. Today we have with us a group of students, among America's best. To you, we say, we have only completed a beginning. We leave you much that is undone. There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers. One of truth's protective layers.
Just a day before he died, President Kennedy compared our space program to a boy who comes upon a wall in an orchard. The wall is tall, it looks insurmountable, but the boy is curious about what lies on the other side. So he throws his cap over the wall, and then he has no choice but to go after it. Well, 25 years ago today, our nation, represented by these 3 brave men, made that climb. And so today we are gathered to celebrate their voyage, and I honestly hope to recommit ourselves to their spirit of discovery. Apollo, their spirit 11, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were our guides to the wondrous, the unimaginable at that time, the true handiwork of God. They realized the dreams of a nation. They fulfilled an American destiny. They taught us that nothing is impossible if we set our sights high enough.
And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
Today we're honored to have them and all the other Apollo astronauts who are here with us. For every American who followed your journey, especially for those of us who were young on that fateful day 25 years ago, and for the young Americans who still dream dreams of a future in space, we thank you all. Looking back on that mission, one thing is clear that we ought to remember today. It wasn't easy. The ship to the heavens measured just 13 feet in diameter.
Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it. And every one that sweareth shall be cut off, as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts. And it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof, and the stones thereof.
The destination was 3 days and a world away. On the third day, as the tiny module descended to the moon, it came dangerously close to a crash landing. That happens around here all the time. But Neil Armstrong took over the controls from the computer and landed safely. Man had not been rendered obsolete by the mechanical, and that hasn't happened yet. Not long after that, when he stepped on the moon, Mr. Armstrong marked the outer limit of the human experiment with those simple words, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Apollyon.
These men and the other astronauts who came before and after have helped us to step into another world right here on Earth. They've shown us that we can harness the technology of space in areas from the economy to the environment to education to information and technology. The products and knowledge that grew out of our space missions has changed our way of life forever and for the better.
Apollyon.
And in our quest, we have relearned a sense of confidence that has always been an essential ingredient of our American dream. Today, that journey continues. Our commitment to the space program is strong and unwavering. The best way to honor these men and all the others who have helped us so much
He with a smaller army, that's why I think it says his feet and he touched not the ground. He went so fast, it looked like he's just flying over the ground to get there. It's part of the symbolism. It looked like he's just flying over the ground to get there. It's part of the symbolism. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes, probably representing Alexander the Great. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which would be the Persians, and had 2 kings. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which would be the Persians, and had 2 kings. Which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him. That means he was angry. And smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. This would be the symbolism of he killed the 2 kings. or took him out of power. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. So he lost to Alexander the Great. And we know historically that's what happened. The Persians got conquered by the Alexander the Great, the Greeks, okay? Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, what do we got here? Notification. The great horn was broken. So this he-goat, Alexander the Great, the Greeks, waxed great. He became a great leader and died at age 30. The great horn was broken. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. And everybody knows historically, Alexander's huge kingdom was divided up between his 4 generals.
Right up, 150 meters per second. Slightly below nominal. Wherever one.
The 4 top generals each took a section, and the kingdom broke up into 4 regions. And out of one of them came forth a little horn,
a kilometer. Trunk deploy.
Which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land, probably toward Israel.
Drugs look good.
It waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground. So obviously this is not an earthly king now. This is talking about a satanically motivated person, because have you ever seen any king in the world cast down stars to the ground?
What? Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Have you ever seen any king in the world cast down stars to the ground? Or go to the host of heaven? We can't do that. We can't get there.
Oh, wow! Oh my God!
Or go to the host of heaven? We can't do that. We can't get there. And he stamped upon them. So this now has become, I think, a satanic. Probably the devil. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth the man-child, who was to rule all nations with the rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
Just as the United States was the first nation to reach the moon in the 20th century, so too will we be the first nation to return astronauts to the moon in the 21st century.
Well, how do you plan to get there? In this trash can?
We're dreaming big.
Well, now I have seen everything.
And it'll get more and more obvious as you go along.